This, despite the fact that 2008 isn't merely an election year, it's also the year when the tide of Social Security cash begins to recede. We are high tide now, but as the baby boomers retire, it will draw back, and we're not doing much about it. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit now at this lunch about how all this came to be. My case for you this afternoon is that all you really need to do to understand our problems today on this issue is walk through another election cycle, that of 1935-36, the presidential election. I'm going to artificially compress all of progressive history and say that 1936 was the most significant presidential campaign of the past 100 years. The campaign would not merely collect the support of a record number of electoral votes, it would do something that, of all audiences, I think this one understands. It would tip the balance of federalism. At the beginning of Campaign 36, states were more important than Washington. At the end, Washington was more important than states. This was the campaign that shaped all American politics henceforward, and did so by promising Americans a special thing, that Washington is there to serve national interest groups and pay them. Today we think of it all as sort of long march to government, the road to serfdom. I think if Roosevelt had liked businessmen, and maybe liked some economists and disliked lawyers, the outcome might have been slightly different. If it hadn't been so hot and there hadn't been the Dust Bowl in the summer of ~35, and Washington had had more air conditioning, or Washington had had angiograms, the lawmakers would have taken a little more time over these laws. The third thing that's important is that while we can respect Roosevelt's work and even voters' support of it at the time, we don't need to have false nostalgia for it. The fourth point, I think, is that the PWA makes us understand the legitimacy people have granted the earmark today. Sitting here thinking about the debates and the state of our election, it's important to remember one last thing, that fun that is gone, the fun the Democrats have been trying to recapture since they retook Congress. Whatever party you are from, the entitlements just don't leave any room to blast things out of committee, to reform. When Roosevelt took such pleasure in his bold, persistent experimentation, he did not tell the people that his experiments would preclude future experiments. Their fun took away our fun. When I was writing this book, I kept thinking actually not of Roosevelt, but of William Graham Sumner, which seemed odd. Sumner was a Victorian, the man who wrote the original Forgotten Man, and he died in 1910, but I continued to hear Sumner talking to me in the background as I typed, and what he said continued to apply both to the 30s and to our current political life. Sumner spoke prophetically about the voter who was not included in the interest group, the man or woman everyone fails to think about, that what he said could have been scripted for 2008. He spoke of the forgotten voter for whom there is no provision in the Great Scramble and the Big Divide. An election is not a good election if it does not welcome that voter back too. Thank you.